Hey folks, Ryan here from Mr. Row's Gaming Rants and Reviews, and I've got another review video for you today. And today I'll be taking a look at Disney's Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit, published by the OP in 2021. And this is a retheming, reskinning of an earlier game from them called Fantastical Beasts Perilous Pursuit, which was exploring the Harry Potter world and the Fantastical Beasts universe. This is taking the very beloved IP of Kingdom Hearts and throwing it into that realm. So we are going to be, we're going to be taking on the roles of Sora, Riku's, Goofy, and Donald, and Kari, to roll some dice and go exploring these worlds where they are infested with these heartless enemies, and we're going to try to rid the worlds of those particular enemies. And if we're able to do that successfully, hey, we win. But you know what? Those beasts can be pretty difficult to overcome at times. So why don't we take a look at what's inside this box and a little bit of an overview on how to play. So join me at the table for that. Okay, so here we are with Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit. Let's take a look at what's inside the box. Now again, this is not an unboxing video because we have been playing this game quite a bit recently, so everything has been kind of sorted out and whatnot. So I'll just put this off to the side. So as we can see, as we open up the box here, very nice little inlay to have our player trays. And probably the first thing you're going to see, because they are prominent, is that we do have the 6 custom dice for ourselves with all different shapes and sizes. There we go. I'm just going to set those off to the side here. And then the very first thing you'll see is we do have our 5 player boards. And of course, if you're very familiar with the Kingdom Hearts IP, we of course have to have Sora here. And then we also the game comes with Riku, Kari, Donald Duck, and of course Goofy. And those are our 5 player boards. And of course you can see they're very nicely, they are dual layered. They have nice little insets. If I can try to show it off there a little bit, you can see that they are recessed so that when you do start placing your tokens in here, they aren't going to be sliding around, which is actually very nice and very handy, especially if you're playing with younger gamers and they can get really quite, grabby with hands and very table bumpy and whatnot. So it's nice to have all of those places to have those things sit in. And of course, you can definitely see that the icons are going to associate with the different types of actions that you can take, and that the player boards, that these icons are in different orders, kind of a little bit of asymmetry between the different player boards and the different player characters. Those icons do appear in different orders, and that is going to come into play when we get into the gameplay itself. And underneath those, you'll see that you'll have the rule book of Perilous Pursuits, and it is, I'm going to go on, this is an okay rule book. Okay, it does get you into the game quite quickly, but I found some sections to be a little bit vague and a little bit confusing, especially the assigning the dice action. I'm going to come up to that. For our first few games, we played that wrong. I misinterpreted how to assign and then activate your dice because I'll get to it in the into the how to plays. Okay, and then but overall it is fairly good. It does explain how to play the game and how you're going to win and what certain icons are going to mean. But there was just a couple things that I actually had to go to YouTube myself and figure out exactly what does that mean. I did find a good how to play published by the OP themselves. So, and that cleared up a few of the things that I was having troubles interpreting. So beware, rulebook is okay. There are a couple vague spots in it. Next comes the world cards. And these are all out of order for myself and everything like that. But there are a few there. If you're familiar with the IP of Kingdom Hearts, you'll probably recognize some of these Heartless encounters and everything like that. And all of these boards are double-sided. You get a good chunk of them too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of these double-sided, 28 different worlds and bosses that you can take on. And now I'm also going to kind of bring it up here that some of all of them will have a level associated with them. When you go to set up your games, you are going to, depending on what type of game you're going to be playing, a standard game you'll be playing through 6 worlds. And so for that, you'll have to select 1 level 1 world, 2 level 2s, and 3 level 3s to go through. And that's kind of like your standard game. And then of course you can make that shorter by paying only say 5, say like only 1 level 1, 2 level 2s, 2 level 3s. You can make the thing easier by maybe only incorporating 1 level 3 and more level 2s. There's different ways, there's different variants that they kind of outline at the back of the rule book here that, you know, tailor the game to your playstyle. Are you finding it too easy? Or are you finding it too hard? So that's enough of that. The component, these are okay. They're nice, thick card stock. They are kind of paper. They are kind of flimsy. So as is, don't let the kids get a hold of these and let them bend the crud out of them. But I'll just set those off to the side here. Then we got a small little deck of cards here, which are going to be kind of like our power cards that we can have, and they give you a whole bunch of different wacky abilities. But most of the cards will assign dice faces for you. Like this particular card here is 2 shield icons that you can use on your turn and whatnot. And so a lot of them have icons on them. Some of them will, when the world activates, you get to roll less dice for the world. Some of them will allow you to ignore the Heartless icon, which is a bad thing. You do not want to encounter that icon in your games. Some of them, like this one, allows you to perform an action twice, which can be timed quite right. Could be very, very powerful. You can not roll for the world. And yeah, there's just a lot of different varieties, but most of the cards here are just going to give you some extra dice faces. And then there's the baggy components for all of the players. Now, the game comes this way. You do not need to punch these out. My copy of the game already had all of these things punched out and put into a baggie. So here is the Kari piece. So you'd give this to the Kari player, and there's all of their little tokens. And then there is one of these baggies for all 5 players. And the one last little baggie is the kind of the health markers and the world tracker. Now these little world markers here, these little plastic pieces here, these are the ones that are going to go to the top of a player board and kind of just slides on there, and it kind of keeps track of the health, and it can slide left and right to keep track of that player's health, which are kind of nice. They're neat to have. And then here's something that, you know what, budget, the cost, keeping the cost of the game down must be really, really important, because then we get this tiny little chip that I thought was an error. I almost threw this away, when it actually is the marker for the world cards. So you have to keep track of the world's kind of like health, and whether or not they are doing they're doing bad things to you, so that you lose the world or you win the world. And this little chit here stays on this board, and it will move forwards and backwards on it to keep track of how much damage you've done to the boss of that world, or if the world is going to continually to win. So be careful. I almost threw this away, and I would have had to find a replacement on how to keep track of all of these little tracks and information or whatnot. So perhaps they probably could have made a different component that was a little bit more prominent for this to kind of keep track of the things. You may want to maybe even grab like a meeple or something like that, just to kind of upgrade this little chit. I thought it was an error, and I almost threw it away, and then I realized that it actually had some game use. So I'll put those away here. I'll open up one of these baggies just so you can kind of see the different pieces here. And I'll grab Kari's board, since this was the person that I did grab their opponents to. And you can kind of see here that these little things slide nicely into their slots, and they're the perfect size for them. Kind of like that. They slide in. You can tip the board up, shake it to the left and right a little bit, and the pieces don't fall out. Okay. So, nicely done. I have no complaints with the plan. The little shield icons slide into their little shield spots really quite nicely. Some of them don't fit quite properly a little bit. Some of them fit perfectly, so take that for what it is. Components of this game, pretty good for the type of game that you're getting here, this family style game. Components are pretty good. These dual layer player boards are the piece de resistance of this game. This is what makes the game actually functional. Yeah. So I'm going to quickly clean this up here, and I'm going to set this up to kind of teach you how to play Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit. Okay, so I'm set up here for a 2-player game of Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit. And so I've got my player boards here selected. I'm going to play as Sora and as Donald Duck. And I've got all of my tokens lined up. You can line up your tokens however you want. This is kind of like the particular order that I like to do it. I like to put the big tokens on the left, the small tokens on the right, and everything like that. Keep my shield tokens to the side here. Both players are set to 10 health. And at the very beginning of the game, each player is dealt one action card here to kind of help them out at the beginning. And I do have my world here set up. It is a level 1. It is the Hollow Bastion. And I'll give you there's the art there for them. And I do have the token here set for a 2-player. 2 and 3-player games are set to this blue dot, and then 4 and 5-player games are set to this green triangle. So I will be playing 2 and 3 players. I'll put the little marker right there. And this game is played over a series of rounds where we're going to try to push this token by dealing attack damage to this guy, so that I can push this token forward until it falls into this spot where it says world saved area. And once the world is saved, then we get to go on to the next world. But also, after every player's turn, the world is going to get to activate against us, and that could possibly push this token backwards. And if it moves backwards far enough, that the world will be lost to us. And so one way that the players can lose is if they lose 2 worlds. So if we lose against 2 particular worlds, the game is over for the players. And another way that the game can end for the players is if either player or any one player's health is reduced to 0, the game is over. So we're going to try to make sure that we keep our allies safe. And of course, the only way for the players to win the game is if they beat all of the worlds that they've set for us. So in a standard game, like I said, there'll be 6 worlds to play through. And in shorter games, it could be 5 worlds to play through. So you have to play through all and beat all of the worlds before any one of those endgame triggers take place. So what you do on your turn is you're going to take the 6 dice and you're going to roll them kind of like a la Yahtzee, where you get to roll them, you get to keep any dice that you want and re-roll again and keep any dice, and you get 3 rolls on your turn to try to get as many of these symbols as possible. And what you're actually trying to do here is you're trying to power up your attacks or power up these abilities so that you can take them as actions later on. So in order for Sora to power up her attack, we need to first roll a key symbol to ready it. Then we would need to roll another key symbol in order to set it. And then finally, now I can assign, now if I roll a key symbol in the future, I can then perform the action for it by placing a dice on there. Okay, so first off, you need to ready them, then set the actions, and then you can perform. As you can see, some abilities are easier to ready and set than others. And each player board is different. Their icons are in a different order, so it's like Sora here can attack and collect quite easily, whereas Donald can collect and protect easier. Middle ground is that Sora can protect herself. Middle ground is that Donald can do some attack. And then neither of these players are very good at what they call distracting. And of course, towards the bottom of every players is their special asymmetric ability. Sora's ability is that once you get this set and you can take it, deals 3 attack, whereas Donald can heal 1 health to any player and then also deal 1 attack. And then all the other players do something in same veins, maybe draw some cards and whatnot. Which makes it come that I should actually maybe go through the different actions where we do have the attack action, which is just dealing a damage to the world. Collecting is gaining cards, and you can only ever have 3 cards in your possession at any one time. If you draw a 4th card, then you have to discard one of your cards. Protecting is gaining these shield tokens, so that if the world ever deals damage to a player, if they have shields, the shields will soak up the damage before it actually damages their own health. The special ability I've already went through, and then distracting actually allows when the world activates, they have a certain number of dice that they are going to roll, and if the distract action has been activated, well, then the world will roll less dice, and that's usually a good thing because, well, as you can see, the worlds can do some nasty things to us. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now, there's a couple other little nuancy things that when you roll, I'm going to kind of set up a situation here. Let's say Sora's attack. Maybe the protect is kind of going on here, and they got their ability. And then Donald here, he's got, collect has been ready and set. Protecting has been ready and set. And maybe they got really, really lucky, and their ability is also ready and set, and that's about all. So when it is Sora's turn here to come and roll the dice, they can start assigning dice however they would like. Now, as you can see here, there are some crown icons. And these crown icons, you can see that they don't appear anywhere on here. They are wild. So it's technically you have kind of like 2 of every icon out there, because you have your wild icon, and it can be used to activate or even ready or set anything that you needed to do. So let's just say, I'm going to use this crown icon to, what do we got here? I'm going to use it to set my special ability. And then also I can see that I have my special ability symbol also rolled. So I'm going to actually be able to set and activate that special ability this turn. I have also this other wild icon that maybe I might do something a little bit later. Maybe I'm also going to assign this key icon to attack. And let's just say, you know what? I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save this, and then I can also roll this dice however I want, except for when I roll the black dice does not have a wild icon on it. It has a heartless icon on it. And the heartless icon is bad during the player's turn, because if it ever gets rolled, you can't keep any of your dice. You have to roll all of your dice again, which is bad news, especially if you got things that got some plans, that you have some plans for those dice. So you can't keep what you have. You have to roll everything again. All right. And if you roll that on your last turn, well, then you kind of really lost on your last roll. You've kind of lost your turn. You don't get to keep any of your dice, pass the dice on to the next to the next player. Okay, so really kind of keeping this dice would be very, very very risky, especially if we want to re-roll it or anything like that. Okay, so let's just say at the end of my rolls here, maybe I do end up with, maybe I got that. Maybe at the end of my rolls, I have these. Okay, so I can see here that I also now have another special ability. I will be able to set, activate my ability, and now I have this leftover one. But I do see that my partner over here also has his special ability ready and set. Since we both have our special abilities ready and set, I can assign this dice on my turn for Donald to take that action on my turn. And that's kind of where the cooperative nature of this game is going to take place, is being able to have the same types of abilities ready and set so that I can activate other players on my turn as well for these not so wasted dices. Same thing with this shield. Since we both have shields ready and set, I could assign this dice either to me to gain myself a shield, or I can assign this to Donald to gain a shield. And I guess that is only because we both have the protect action ready and set. I have this collect icon left over. I do not have collect ready or set. It's not in any stage for me. Donald does have collect ready and set, but I cannot assign it to Donald because I do not have mine ready or set. Okay, but I do have a crown card, and cards can be spent on your turn for however you wish. So maybe I'm going to use this to protect myself, and then maybe I will assign this card and a crown. So now I can say I have two collect icons that I can take my token here and I can ready my collect action and say that would be my turn. And now I resolve my abilities. I just start, usually what I do is I kind of assign, you can do them in any order that you want, and that may make sense in certain situations, but in the very beginning here, I like to just activate them from top to bottom. But again, you can activate them in any order you want. So I can perform an attack action, which would move this token one space forward. I could take a protect action, which would just gain me a shield icon. And then I can activate my special ability, which says 3 attacks. So 1, 2, 3. And then over here, we can activate Donald's ability, which would be able to heal one player. Neither of us have taken any damage yet. And then he also does 1 attack. And so we actually would have done very, very well that particular round. We found that if multiple players at the table have their abilities ready and set, that is very powerful to be able to do. And that's kind of what I would say a goal to work towards really quite early on, because being able to activate other players' abilities on your turn will benefit the group as a whole. So that's a really, really powerful strategy in order to try to get to. Okay. After my turn is done, I spent my card, I did my things. After my turn, now the world has to activate, and the top right-hand corner of the world will dictate to you which dice they need to roll. This one says you need to roll the black, and it needs to roll 3 blues. So I'll pass those other dice to the other player, and then I will roll these icons. Okay. Anytime you roll a crown in the world activation stage, those are blank. They do nothing. And then when you roll these other symbols, well, you have to consult the world chart here, and it will tell you what those certain icons will do for you. So in this case, I rolled a key icon, and it says here keys have no effect. So that was a really, really good roll for me. I also drew this kind of like tree triangle shape, and that also says no effect. And I rolled another tree. So the world did not do anything to me this particular turn, which is really, really, really good for us. Because if we were to have rolled these shield icons, this one says +2 Heartless. So wherever my token was at the end of the round, okay, and I rolled a shield, I would have to move that token backwards 2 spaces. The Heartless were getting stronger that particular round. And then some of these ones will also have, like this case, the little collect icon said -1 health. So you would reduce the damage, you would reduce your health, unless if you had a shield. And then all worlds have a Heartless icon, and all worlds kind of do something a little bit differently. In this one, it says unset distract. So that means if we were to have the distract token set, if it was like this, and I rolled that Heartless icon, we would have to unset it, which would mean I would have to take that off, and I would have to reactivate it again in this particular instance. Okay. So then we have to do that, and we'll play this a number of rounds, and then it'll be Donald Duck's turn, and he will do the same thing. He will roll his dice, try to activate some abilities, and all the while we're trying to push this token either to the world saved, or the world's going to activate and the world will be lost. Now, depending on what happens, whether the world is saved or lost, something is going to happen. Something good happens to the players if the world is saved. In this case, this one says that all players would get 1 card. So saving the world in here would be really beneficial. We each get to draw a card. Okay, world lost, we already know what that means. It means it goes into the kind of set off to the side, and if you lose 2 worlds, you lose the game. Now, one thing that does happen when the world is saved is that you do end up having to, I'm going to put this token somewhere, you do have to end up rolling the black die, and you kind of get a little bit weaker between worlds. This was not set for us. You do kind of get a little bit weaker between worlds because I'm going to roll this dice here, and whatever symbol is showing, I'm going to have to remove my ready and set tokens for that particular symbol. So I will have to recharge up that particular ability. If during this stage I end up rolling the Heartless icon, well, I have to unset all of my abilities. Okay, they come back, they kind of come back here. And then I have to roll it again to determine whether or not I have to remove all of my tokens. If I roll the Heartless again, I remove all of my remove all of my readies. And if I end up rolling, say, something like my shields, then I have to remove my shields. So rolling Heartless during the in between the world saved stage is kind of is really bad. Okay. Now, let's just kind of reset here again. Let's just say we were in this situation and this token ended up going to the world lost area. Well, at that stage, if you lose a world, automatically, without rolling the dice, you have to unset all of your actions, and then you have to roll a black and a blue dice, and you would roll them, and you would have to unready those particular actions. And if you roll the Heartless again, like I did here, I would in this case I would have to unready my special ability, and then the Heartless would say you have to unready your 3 shortest icons, and in this case that would be all 3 of these again. So again, rolling Heartless during this stage is kind of bad. Now, there is one little saving grace. I know we have to unset if the world is lost, and you have to unset if you do end up rolling the Heartless and a wild. Okay, a not very likely outcome, but if you do end up rolling this, they kind of cancel each other out, and you don't remove any of your ready tokens, which is kind of really nice. Okay. And yeah, so then the dice would pass over to the next player, and you'd start over with a new world here. Whether or not it was saved or lost, you'd progress to the next world. It's going to have its own set of abilities. You're going to try to do that. You're going to try to defeat through 6 worlds in a standard game, 5 worlds in a short game. And yeah, so join me back at the studio, and I'll give you my thoughts and review about Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit. Okay, so that was Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit, an overview and how to play. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts and some of our experiences that we've had with this game so far. We've really enjoyed it. This is a great family style game where family style, I'm meaning that the rules aren't overly complex. My oldest son, he's 6. He was able to pick up what we're trying to do in these games and strategize with us very, very easily. He loves rolling dice and being able to match the symbols and fill up his board. So that's a really plus, that the rule overset is not that complex. On the other hand, that we did find, I found, since I was the teacher of this game, I found the rule book a little lacking in some areas. I was kind of confused in a few things, especially where it was the assigning the dice to another player's board. I had completely missed, and I reread the rule book a couple times, and I completely missed the fact that I had to have a particular action ready and set, as well as somebody else at the table had to have the exact same action ready and set. Only then can we assign dice out of turn and place them on their player boards during that time. We had completely missed that in our first couple plays, so we thought it was actually really quite easy when, say, Regan would power up his special action. I didn't have my special action powered up yet, but yet I was still triggering. That's not how we're supposed to play. Now we are playing with the correct rule set, and yes, that adds a little bit more of a challenge to us going forward. So an area like that, and then also in the areas of at the end of a world, whether you've saved the world or the world has defeated you, what happens when you roll that Heartless icon on the dice? I know that what happens the first time, you have to unset all of your actions, but then if it happens a second time, well, when you save the world, it doesn't explicitly say that, other than we just kind of adopted the rule of what happens when that happens, when the world is lost to you, which is you remove the 3 shortest tokens on your ready side of your board. So I'm sure that's what was meant to happen, if we're assuming that correctly. The cards, we really enjoyed the collecting of the cards. They're really, really quite beneficial. It's a big stack of cards where a good majority of them are just kind of giving you extra dice symbols, but I do have them here. There are 5 in the deck that have saved our butts a number of times, and that is the ignore the Heartless icon dice. Let me see if I can get it focused in there. That one has saved us a number of times when it does come up, and again, it's not coming up too terribly often, as there's only 5 in the deck, but being able to cancel the Heartless icon when the world has rolled, or cancel the Heartless icon just so that I can actually roll or keep some of the dice rolls that I have rolled on my turn has been very, very key. And another couple of there's not very many of these cards. There's actually only 2 of these ones in the whole deck, where there is roll 2 less blue dice or roll 3 less blue dice for the world. And those ones come in extremely handy, especially if you can get them later on, because man, those level 2 and level 3 bosses worlds, they're doing some stuff to you every single roll. The level 1, there's usually quite a number of icons that have no effect. But the level 2s and the level 3s, like almost all of the symbols will do something to some degree, and being able to roll less of them is quite good. And then there's only 1 of these in the whole deck of cards where it says, do not roll for the world, which is a very fun half. Oh, sorry, there's 2 of them in the deck, because there's also one that backs with 3 special attack icons as well. We did find it very fun if you do draw the card where it says you can perform a certain action twice. We found this one extremely helpful. It happened to us only in one of our games so far, where my son was playing as Sora, powered up the special action, which deals 3 damage to the world boss, and he had this card in hand where he could do that twice, so he was able to do 6 damage and essentially win the world for us when things seemed like they were kind of going to spiral out of control. So the cards are really, really quite helpful, especially if you can draw some of those ones in your games. One of the things that we have found during our playthroughs is that the box does say about 45 minutes as a playtime, which is probably as long as if you're playing the longer game, which is you're playing through 6 worlds, 1 level 1, 2 level 2s, 3 level 3s. I'm assuming that's going to be around that spot. Our first few games, even with that one rule mishap, our first game took us like almost an hour and a half. And that was nothing like we weren't doing anything improperly, not necessarily, but the way the world kept rolling, we kept pushing the marker forward, but then we just ever so happened to get the rolls where the marker would go backwards. And it kind of was this tug of war of going forward, going backwards, going forward, going backwards. And it just seemed like we couldn't get out of that rut for a while. And it just kept going. So it took us a while to get through some of the worlds. So that was kind of a little bit of a ding on this one, as this game seems to overstay its welcome for the type of game, the type of family game that it is. We feel like a game should be over in about half an hour. We're essentially just rolling some dice and matching the symbols. And as soon as the symbols are all powered up, the actions are all powered up, you're only assigning 1 dice. You can assign multiple dice to do multiple things on your turn. And you're just kind of doing that back and forth. And we've actually had some games lately where we don't even get through 5 or 6 bosses. My son is kind of like, I'm kind of bored of this. I don't just want to play through like 3 bosses, or he maybe make through 4 boss worlds. So the game does take a little bit longer than probably it should. And that's unfortunate, because we've had actually a lot of fun. My wife and I and my son play this game. My son and I just play this game. It's a great way to kill an afternoon or an early evening before bedtime. So it's unfortunate that that's the way that he's kind of starting to go, that the game takes a little bit longer than what he would like to. On that note, too, some of the other things that we've really enjoyed is we do enjoy the art. It has the art of the Kingdom Hearts video game on it. It's not unique art. They're kind of still shots from the video game, which is actually all right, because we can relate to that, because I am a fan of the Kingdom Hearts IP, so I know about these different types of creatures and these different types of boss monsters that kind of come up every now and then, and my son knows about those things because he's seen them. By all means, that doesn't mean that you have to be familiar with the Kingdom Hearts IP to enjoy this particular game. It just kind of goes, you're not really seeking this game out unless you probably know about Kingdom Hearts, but just letting you know, it's a fine game just the way it is, even if you don't know about the IP. So overall, who am I recommending this game for? This is a great family game. Like, don't get me wrong. Even though it overstays its welcome sometimes in that playtime, you can adjust it to however you want. If you want to just play through like a level 1, level 2, level 3 boss, hey, go for it. If you want to do like a level 1, 2 level 2s, and a level 3, custom the game however you want. But that standard game of 6 worlds it's a little bit more of a time investment, especially if the dice rolls are not going your way. So those are my thoughts on Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit. It's getting a thumbs up from me. It is a fun game, and will come out every now and then on afternoons, say like Regan's home from home from school for the day or in the afternoon, or it's just an early evening right before bedtime game, it fills that spot very, very nicely. So on that note, if you're really enjoying these types of reviews and this type of content, please, I ask you again to like, comment, and subscribe. Does Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit seem like the type of game that you would enjoy and that your family would enjoy? Or even the gamers in your game group, if you like these lightweight type of games, please make sure that you're commenting, liking, subscribing to the channel, and really kind of pumping up and just get this thing going. All right, folks, review over.